It was not a good reading month. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great either. So annoyed. So this reading month sucked. Ugh. It was not a good reading month for me, and I thought I picked out some surefire winners, bro, and I was let down. I'm hoping November will be better. But anyway, enough of that. Let's get into the bullshit, okay? Yeah, oh, okay, that's right. Yeah, I had 15 books on my TBR at the beginning of October, and I only ended up reading 9 of them. 3 I DNF'd and 2 I didn't get a chance to get to because I was just so aggravated with the month. I was like, I'm not going to waste my time. I don't want to... I didn't want to pick up these 2 books and be even more disappointed with the month. So so one of the books on my list, what was it? Oh my god, I completely forgot. I blanked on it. Nice Girls. Yeah, one of the books on my list, Nice Girls, is going to be moved to May for AAPI month because the author is a woman of color of Asian descent. The other book, The Moon, the Stars, and Madame Burova, that I did not get a chance to get to, I will get to at some point in the future. And the last book on the list that I had on my October TBR, Payback's a Witch, I didn't even get a chance to buy. I saw that it was on pre-order, and so I was like, okay, I'll buy it, once it's off pre-order, and I totally forgot. Stupid me. Too busy being angry about the books that I did read. Those are the 3 books that I did not get a chance to get to, and they will be read at some point in the future. But let's get to the 3 books I fucking had to DNF. Okay, first up, In Her Pumpkin Patch by Alina Jacobs. I DNF'd this after 20 pages. The writing was so bad. It took only 20 pages for me to realize, oh, I am not going to be able to get through this. When I first got this in the mail, and I was like, ooh, she thick. I was like, okay, how many pages? I saw it was over 500. I was like, okay, I will take a epic romance saga, especially if it's a holiday romance. Like, come on, like, I'm here for this shit. And, I was really jazzed to try and read this during the month of October. And it only took 20 pages for me to realize this is bad. It's just bad writing. I don't want to spend too much time griping about this. Just know that I hated the writing style. It was really bad. It was really immature and sophomoric. Not in anything that was happening, but in the style itself. Like, she's just a bad writer. And I couldn't deal with it. And so after 20 pages, I realized there's no way. There's no fucking way I'm doing 500 pages of this. So I had to fucking put it down. And I was really disappointed because out of all my romances this month, this is the one I was looking forward to the most. And like, once I saw it was 500 pages, I was like, I ain't scared, let's do this. And then 20 pages in, I was like, absolutely the fuck not. So this will be unhauled in January when I get rid of books. The second book I had to DNF this month was Universal Harvester by John Darnell. It started out so strong. This book's not even that long. It's like 200 pages. I got halfway through and I was like, fuck this shit. Like, fuck this noise. Like, I don't have to put up with this. Like, it started out so strong. And then in the middle of the book, we take this fucking detour into this, like, back history, this backstory of one of, like, the characters. And she's not even a main character. She's a character adjacent. And her story's supposed to tell her daughter's story, who tells the story that's happening now. And I'm just like, no. And I put it aside. Once that started happening and I was getting annoyed, I put it aside. I was like, I'll pick it up later in the month. I will definitely finish this at the end of the month because I want to know the mystery. I want to know what fucking happens. You could get me with a mystery. Like, I will finish a mystery even if it's bad because I at least want to know how it all ends, how it fucking happens. I couldn't do it with this book. Like, and the second I put it down, I realized I'm not picking this back up. I know myself. I'm not Like, I don't care about the mystery anymore. I don't care if it's fucking serial killers or aliens or whatever the fuck is happening in this book, because that's another thing. Like, it's you just don't know who is sending around these videotapes with all this weird shit happening on it. And it's just, I was really, and that's another thing, I was really hoping to be scary. It was suspenseful, but it wasn't scary. But like I said, halfway through the middle, like, we just leave the entire genre for some literary fiction out of nowhere. So I just couldn't do it. So I DNF'd this, and this is definitely getting unhauled in January when I do unhaul. This one breaks my heart. Everyone loves Stephen Graham Jones. Everyone raves about his book. This is his newest one. Everybody and their mom bought it, and so I was like, I want to read this. Like, and it's spooky, and it's about a girl who loves 80s slasher films, like, and loves is an understatement, bitch is obsessed, and I find that interesting. And Stephen Graham Jones is also an indigenous person, and the story focuses on a female indigenous character. So I was just like, yo, it's hitting all the points for me. Like, I gotta read this. And I sat down on my birthday to read that, and I was like, oh my god. And I only got 50 pages in because I was just like, it can't just be me. Like, it can't. So I went to, there's two booktubers that I subscribe to and that I love. Gabby from Gabby Reads and Jessie from Books and Bow Ties. And I knew that they were reading this book as well. And I think Jessie is like a huge fan of Stephen Graham Jones. And so I went to her YouTube video where she talks about this book first. And she had the exact same feelings I was having about it. And then I went to Gabby Reads, her YouTube video about it, and she had the exact same feelings too. I was like, okay, it's not just me. This is bad. It's a slog to get through. Like, the first chapter is amazing and terrifying, and the rest of it just drags. And from what I understand from those two lovely ladies on BookTube who read the book most of the way through, and I think Gabby Reads, I think she read it most of the way through, and I think Jessie from Books and Bow Ties read the whole thing. But they both said the same thing, like, it just drags, and it's not until like the last 50 pages that any real action or horror happens. I was like, I can't do that. Like, absolutely not. I'm not wasting my time. I'm reclaiming my time, and I reclaimed my time with these books that I had to DNF. Like, oh my god, like, look at this. Look at this. That's how long it took me to read 50 some odd pages, because it was just dragging, dude. It took me that fucking long to get through 50 pages, and it was my birthday. I was like, I'm not wasting my birthday reading something I have no interest in, or is, becoming difficult to get through. Alright, let's get to the books I sort of semi-liked. Baby Teeth. I gave Baby Teeth a C. Out of every book this month, this is the one I was dying to read. So it was the first one on my list. And it started out great. It started out so fucking great. It's dual protagonists. It's the mom and the daughter. The daughter's name is Hannah, and the mother's name is Suzette. And Hannah is a incredibly smart 7-year-old girl, but her parents are having issues with her in that she doesn't speak. And you find out very quickly in the book that the reason she doesn't speak is just to piss her mom off. She is in this highly antagonistic battle of the wills with her mother. Her mom's not abusive. She didn't do anything to her. She's actually tries very hard to connect with her. It's just that Hannah is obsessively in love with her father and feels like her mother's in the way. She's too young to grasp any feeling toward her father as being romantic or sexual. She's just in love with him platonically and paternally. And her mother is this obstacle that stands in the way of it just being her and her father. So she goes out of her way to do horribly vindictive and vicious and evil things to her mother. And it's so interesting to be in her head in her chapters. So interesting to be in Suzette's, because Suzette knows exactly what she's doing. Suzette's not lost. She's like, I know my daughter's like doing this on purpose. I know she's an evil little bitch. Once it reaches the point, though, where Alex becomes nothing but aware of Hannah's crazy and witnesses it for himself, and they have to make a decision as to whether or not they want to put her in a mental hospital, the book loses the thread. It was certainly entertaining, but at a certain point, once Hannah gets caught and they send her off to the hospital, it gets a little, Suzette's chapters get very, dull. Like, it kind of, it's weird, really weird. Like, Hannah's chapters stay on this very tense thread, and Suzette's just kind of, And so that's why Suzette's chapters become dull. And Hannah still stay the same and interesting because she gets put in this hospital. She gets tricked by her parents to be put into this hospital. She's upset. She's angry. She's trying to manipulate her way home. So there's still tension going on with her. But with Suzette and Alex, now that she's gone, they're fucking all over the house and watching TV and drinking. And I'm just like, oh, the story lost its thread. It no longer became thrilling and suspenseful. It just became, okay. It felt like after credits. It was just kind of like, it was like watching the after credits of a 90s thriller. It was just kind of like, okay, the bad guy's gone now. Why are we still here? Next up on my list is Violet by Scott Thomas. This book was beautifully written and very well written and very cinematic. And I think that was my issue with it. Scott Thomas is also a television film writer. He's a screenwriter as well. And you could tell by this book. But it read like reading a horror film script instead of a book that was, instead of reading a horror book. About a quarter of the way into the book, I figured out what was happening. And I wasn't surprised. I was just kind of like, okay, let's just, get through this then. I gave this book a B-. I would have given it a C, but the writing's so good. It's really good. It's just, his style of writing is good, but his delivery of, but the story itself wasn't good. The story was boring. It was predictable. It was too cinematic for literature. It read like a mediocre horror film. Scott Thomas does a great job of writing women. Like, he didn't spend all this time describing them physically. He did a really great job of describing our protagonist. Oh my god, what's her name? Chris. He did a really great job of describing Chris's mental state, her emotional state, her past, her present, her feelings. I think there aren't that many male authors out there that do a great job of writing women. I think Scott Thomas does a fantastic job of writing women. I think that's just because he focused on her as a person and the story itself that he was trying to tell, which is all we fucking asked for. But the writing, Scott Thomas's writing style itself is really good, and I really like the way he writes women. I'm not put off by him at all, and I will check out the rest of his stuff. But this is just a B-, and like I said, it's a generous B-. Next up, The Art of Seducing a Naked Werewolf. Okay, so this is apparently a series and the second book in the series. It does a lot of recapping of what happened in the first book with her brother and his romance story with her sister-in-law. It doesn't take up too much space in that. It just recalls certain things. So you don't feel like you're missing out on, important things that are happening in the second book, this one, where, what's our girl's name? Oh my god, Maggie. Where Maggie is now the alpha of her werewolf pack and not her brother. A lot of romantic comedy books think they're funny and they're actually just very corny. This one is not one of those. Molly Harper is actually very funny. There were times where I laughed out loud. Like, she's very clever and quippy and just generally funny, and she writes how people talk. And that's what got me through the book, because the plot itself was so goddamn boring. It was, I didn't care. I didn't care. And because I didn't care about the plot, I didn't really care that much about the romance. And I didn't feel the sexual tension I was supposed to feel between these two characters. and that, you know, and wanting them, the romance between them and wanting them together. Like, I honestly, the whole time was like, I could care less if they're together. And I know that's the whole point of the book, and why did I finish it if that's the whole point? If I didn't give a shit about the two leads being together. Because as boring as the plot was, I kind of wanted to know. Like I said, you could get me with a mystery. I will stick with the most boring mystery just to find out what happens at the end. And, you know, that's one of the reasons, or the reason I stuck with The Art of Seducing a Naked Werewolf. I wanted to know what was happening, who was terrorizing their pack. I should have saw it coming. I don't know how I did not. It was very obvious. When it happened, I was like, oh, that dude? And then I was like, oh, what's wrong with me? Like, what is wrong with me? There are breadcrumbs throughout the whole book that I apparently was not picking up on. But the sexy times were nice. They weren't as in depth and as sexy as I would have liked, but the sexy times were still nice. And like I said, it was really funny, and I wanted to know what was happening, you know, with the mystery, like who was terrorizing her pack, who was harassing her. At one point, she's sexually assaulted by the dude who it turns out to be, and I was like, holy fuck. And it just, like, rolls right off of her. They just keep going, like, you know, there's no trauma, there's no discussion about it. I don't even recall her even telling anybody that happened. It's insane. I give this book I give it about a B-, a well-earned B-. Okay, because these scary books I was reading this month weren't fucking scary, I had to buy an anthology book. And I bought the Mammoth Book of Halloween Stories. I think I read 15 stories in here. Yeah, I think I read 15, and out of the and I think there's like 20 something in the book. And out of the 15, I read only one I didn't like, and that was Neil Gaiman's October in the Chair. It was just really fucking boring. It was about the months are personified, and they're sitting around a campfire arguing about something. I don't know. I don't even remember. It was so fucking boring. But yeah, I read October in the Chair. I read The Halloween Monster by Alison Littlewood. Let's see. I read Bonefire by Storm Constantine, which I liked a lot. Adrian Cole's Queen of the Haunt was good. Angela Slatter's The October Widow. Her Face by Ramsey Campbell I liked a lot. Bleed by Richard Christian Matheson I liked a lot. The Ultimate Halloween Party App by Lisa Morton I liked a lot. I Wait For You by this gentleman whose name I'm not even going to try and butcher. But if you buy this book, the title of the story is called I Wait For You. It's on page 275. I Wait For You was sad. And it kind of had like a tiny little plot twist at the end. I was like, oh shit. The Scariest Thing in the World by Michael Marshall Smith was good. Let's see. The Millennial's Guide to Death by Scott Bradfield. That was really good. It was about death being personified as a millennial, and it was hilarious and depressing at the same time. White Mare by Thana Navu. Pumpkin Kids by Robert Shearman. Really good. Trigger warning for a lot of shit that happens in that story. It's very uncomfortable, but very interesting and fascinating. I thought it was really well done, and it's told through a kid's point of view. Lantern Jack by Christopher Fowler I like. And Halloween Treats by Jane Yolen is basically a Halloween poem, and I thought it was a really good poem. But yeah, the scary books during my Spooktober TBR weren't scary enough for me, so I bought the Mammoth Book of Halloween Stories, and it did the trick. It saved those scary books for me this month with some very creepy stories that I ended up liking a lot. That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming. This was so goofy, but sexy and very funny. The minute I read the first page, I was like, I don't think I'm going to like this, but I'm going to pedal on. And I did. I finished this in a sitting. And, I mean, it's not like it was massive. It's not that big. It's just touching 200 pages. Wait, is it? No, it's 189 pages. So it's not long at all. And its length is fine. You know, it tells the story it wants to tell in that amount of time. And it's great. I really liked it. It was like really good fanfic. it was like really good fanfic. I truly did enjoy this. It is goofy in that the characters have this very modern way of talking, but it takes place in this far off fantasy land, with, you know, demons and witches and flying horses and giants and werewolves. So oh my god! And the lead character has one of those goofy romance story names. Her name is Cinnamon, but everybody calls her Sin, and I'm just like, good lord. But regardless, I liked it. I was actually honestly surprised with how much I ended up liking this a lot, so I'm gonna have to check out more of Kimberly Lemming's stories. But this was really good. I honestly gotta give it an A-. I really enjoyed my time reading it. I was sad when it was over. I wanted more Kimberly Lemming, and I'm gonna have to get more Kimberly Lemming in my life. And it was sexy. Remember when I said the sex and The Art of Seducing a Naked Werewolf was like, you know, okay, the sex in this was the fire pepper I needed. It was the ghost pepper I needed. Thank you, ma'am. I am not Starfire. I liked it. I honestly give it, though, a B. Just a solid B. I saw this pop up on my Amazon amongst my recommend. I was like, sweet, I'm looking for a graphic novel to read during Spooktober. And this sounds right up my alley. It appeals to my comics nerd, my superhero nerdiness. So I was here for it. It's not until, honest to God, today that I even knew that there was controversy surrounding this book. And, you know, fucking fanboys losing their shit and fangirls losing their shit on the fanboys who are losing their shit on this book. And, you know, I can't even go into detail about it. It's a fucking lot. So I strongly suggest you check out my girl Sasha's channel and her video on it. She goes into, I think, about a 30-minute plus depth about the background of this book, and the author, and, you know, all the discourse surrounding it and the book itself. And her description of the book as she's going through it, beat by beat, pretty much how I felt about it and why I gave it a B. Entertaining, beautifully drawn. However, it was very predictable, and it was really clunky in places as far as plot is concerned. And it left me with questions at the end. I understand that some of my questions are there to just be questions because that's not what the story's about. But there are some questions that I had about it that I was just kind of like, that could have been answered in here. Or there are elements of Starfire that I thought was just questionable, and I get it that this is written in a different universe than the Starfire. We know this isn't actually canon, but still, if you're going to write about Starfire and the rest of the DC Titans, I expect there to be a little more attention to background and past story, even if this does take place in a different universe. But yeah, it hit a lot of predictable beats for me. The second I started reading it, I was like, okay, I immediately know where this is going. But I didn't mind the journey there. It was really interesting to watch and read it with, you know, all this beautiful art. I know the art has been criticized as being too highly stylized. I like really highly stylized graphic novels and comics. But it still didn't mean I didn't enjoy the ride. I had a great time reading it. I liked this a lot, so I gave it a B. Alright, The X-Hex. Loved it. I honestly loved it. And I knew I would. Again, a lot of rom-com authors think they're funny and they're actually not. But Erin Sterling actually is fucking funny. And she really does know how to write a charming hero. I don't know if that's because he's supposed to be from the UK or he's just supposed to be part of his personality, but he was very charming. Like, a lot of the time when I read romance, sometimes I get a little annoyed at the hero at some point. I was never annoyed with our boy here. I thought that, you know, I could see why she fell for him and fell for him hard. That I had that question. That was the only issue I had with this book in the beginning, was like, I was like, girl, you only dated this dude for 3 months and you go in this hard, like you go in this ham, you still upset? Because the book jumps forward 9 years after she curses him, and after their breakup. So I was just kind of like, you still mad? It's been 9 years. And then I realized that she was young, he was young, like she was 18, he was 20, and I was like, got it. He was her first like real love, and homie did not tell her that he was engaged to someone else. So I can understand her being devastated and upset. Not only did he not tell her that he was engaged, he finally told her that he was engaged and he was going back to Wales and would not be coming back to Georgia, where this takes place mainly. So I was just kind of like, okay, girl, I get it. But yeah, I have very little issue with this book. I enjoyed my entire time reading it. It was fun. It was sweet. It was romantic. It was sexy. Not as sexy as the last time I got drunk, I saved a demon. But it's right in between. It's right in between. The Art of Seducing a Naked Werewolf and the last time I got drunk, I saved a demon. It's right in the middle as far as hot, sexy, steamy scenes. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. Please pick it up if you haven't read it yet, which I highly doubt because everybody and their mom was reading this during October. Next up, White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson. Right off the bat, I'm going to tell you I gave this an A. I gave it an A. Now, I know I said in my favorite scary movies video that I was tired of black trauma being infused into genre films, particularly horror, ever since Jordan Peele did it with Get Out, and I am. But reading this and the social commentary it has on race and mental illness and the legalization of marijuana and gentrification and blended families, like, it was fantastic. It was honestly fantastic. I think it's described as Get Out meets The Haunting of Hill House or something like that, and that's a perfect description. Tiffany D. Jackson is also a screenwriter like Scott Thomas, and this book was very cinematic, but unlike Scott Thomas, I didn't feel like I was hitting a beat for beat movie. I honestly was like truly invested in all the twists and turns and the creepiness and the scariness in this book. There is a plot twist at the end. I totally understand if people fucking hate that plot twist. I honest to God truly understand if people can't stand it. I personally didn't mind it. I didn't love it, I didn't hate it, I didn't mind it. And honestly, given the social commentary of the story, in my opinion, it needed to happen like that. I'm not going to give it away. I want everyone to read this book and, come to your own conclusions and judgments about it. But I was not bothered. I, honest to God, really did love this book. Honestly, it's an A. It was really good. I can't wait to read more of Tiffany D. Jackson's other books. I didn't know she wrote that book allegedly, which I've had on audio for fucking knows how long. So now I definitely have to fucking read it. The book is about Mary. Her full name is Marigold, but she goes by Mary, who she and her family have moved to this Midwestern town. It's very much like Detroit, and that it's a town that's been ravaged by economic downfall. And this big corporation is trying to take over the town and gentrify it, and that causes issues within the neighborhood. That causes problems for Mary, who is offended by that and just doesn't think, well, why, instead of just gentrifying the neighborhood and kicking all these people out of their homes and rebuilding, Starbucks is on top of them, why don't you just bail these people out and make the neighborhood better? But the corporation's evil and quite possibly ran by a demon. Who knows? That's the background story that gets interwoven to the main story, which is the house that Marigold and her family, her blended family, move into may be haunted. And the ghosts in the house particularly seem interested in her. And her little stepsister, who's a bitch. But you find out later in the book why she's a little bitch, and you do kind of feel sorry for her. But all in all, I love this book so much. I love the writing. I love the plot. I love the twist I like the twist at the end. I love the characters. I love the social commentary. I highly, 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 highly recommend. I love this book. It helped save my month. I gave it an A. It's really, really good. And the last book I read in Spooktober, October, is Rainbow Rowell's Pumpkinheads. It's a graphic novel about these two friends and their senior year, which means it's their last fall working together at this gigantic pumpkin patch that I wish the fuck was real and I could visit. Oh my god, I would fucking go here every day in the autumn. So yeah, the characters' names are Deja and Josie. Josie is short for, or nickname for, Josiah. Yeah, they work in this pumpkin patch. It's not even their, I don't even think it's their last fall. It is their last fall, but I think the book takes place on their very last day, like the pumpkin patch. Yeah, it takes place on Halloween, and the pumpkin patch always closes on November 1st. So yeah, it's their last time even working together. I don't even think they go to the same school, because when they're talking about how much they'll miss each other, I'm like, won't you guys see each other at school? Then I realize, oh no, I don't think they go to the same school. So the only time they see each other is every fall, from September to November, working at this pumpkin patch. And Josiah's been in love with this girl, this redheaded girl who works at the pumpkin patch, who, you know, doesn't notice him and everything. And Deja makes it her mission to, on their last day there on Halloween, to finally talk to her and, you know, make his move. And hijinks ensue as they walk around the entire pumpkin patch, just try to look for this girl and get Josie to talk to her. It's really cute. It's really sweet. It's very romantic. There's not a goddamn thing wrong with this book. I love the highly stylized art. It's so cute. Loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. Honest to God, A+. A+. I give it an A+. And it really, I think this was the second book I read in October. And it, honest to God, like, kicked off the spooky, like, you know, not spooky vibes, but the Halloween vibes, like the autumn vibes. And I was just so fucking here for it. And I loved it. I loved it. I love it. I love it. I honest to God love this as much as I love Bloom. A+, 5 stars. Love it all around. It was fantastic. Okay, so that was it. That was the books that I read this month. So I read 9 books, and I had 15 on the TBR. 3 of which I did not get to because I was just I was too aggravated with the mediocre ones I read, and the 3 I had to fucking DNF. But again, like I said, I hope November is better. But yeah, that's it. That's gonna do it for this wrap up in my very hot, sweaty Freddy sweater. By the way, I had a good birthday. Really good. I mean, I did absolutely nothing, and that's always a good time to me. Like, legit laid on the couch, did nothing but watch TV, eat junk food with my husband, take a nap, and read. Even though I was highly disappointed in the fucking book I picked up. Anyways, wash your hands, wash your face, moisturize your feet, wear a mask, get vaccinated, and please, 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 please pay your library fines. I love you guys so much. Have a good rest of your day. Be safe on Halloween. Bye.